Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome, friends of Free Enterprise, to this week's Baron Hero's Journey, featuring the lovable and not useless, everybody's favorite, Bard. It's Edward time, y'all. We get to see two fantastic runners, Jabron TR and eNinja81, going through and defeating some lovable bosses, getting to carry this bard through the seed, and see what we can get out of it. My name is Possum Morpheus, and I am joined by first-time Free Enterprise commentator, but veteran commentator with other randomizers, Yoshi Kian. Yoshi, how are you doing today?
I am nervous. No, I'm excited. This is going to be great. I love the flag set as well. This is incredible.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to the flag set. I know we were talking a little bit that the enemy unknown wacky is going to be quite an interesting little bit of knowledge that we're going to be testing the runners with to see if they can identify what they're actually fighting against. Is there anything else that you're looking forward to, either from the characters or the flags? Anything that really
I
catches your attention?
with the enemy unknown, I really want to see if anyone goes for the meta objectives, because even figuring out some of the bosses is going to be chaos. Like, how quickly are they going to figure out that it's evil wall and know to use the hide strats? Um, the objectives, I really want to see Twin Harp Go mode, but just so they have to do essentially everything. But yeah, I'm not a big Edward fan, so I'm excited to learn some stuff as well.
Yeah, Edward is definitely a challenging hero for sure. Alchemy doing her best to be a little nicer today, putting Force Magma on. With an Edward hero, hook routes could be very spooky, so our runners definitely get a bit of a break from that. We do have 4 boss hunts in addition to the Twin Harp that is hard required. I know that some members of the community might have thoughts on that, but that is a them problem, as one might say. But looks like we are getting underway. We have eNinja showing us a Bard and a Cid. Cid is actually wonderful to get the party started. We have a Baron key as well. And we get a grimoire, a samurai bow, and poison arrows. You can slap that on Cid and go to town right away. Enan just says, yes, give me that Cid. Jabron TR follows suit. So, Yoshi, where would you head with this team? Would you have any particular loot spots in mind or shopping? What would kind of be your direction here at the gate?
I always want to get the characters as quickly as possible. That's always going to be my priority, I think. But beyond that, ah, jeez. Beyond that, not really. I tend to go for early checks over early loot, and then kind of scout from there. So
Yeah, well, we'll see where our runners go. Looks like Ninja has decided Watery Pass. He's going to go peek and see what the loot is and see. Oh, we have ice arrows and a great bow. That poison arrow and samurai bow going to be put on Sid right away. And we have a Tella hanging out in Mysidia. And we have a Yang also joining him. This is 4 characters, and honestly, not very good ones overall. When you can reliably say that Tella is the best character we have found so far from a versatility and utility standpoint, and we've seen 4 characters, that's pretty rough, and this Rydia does not help the runner's cause yet. So, a little bit spooky here. E-Ninja, I don't think he's trying to be disrespectful, but he doesn't even take the time to pick the Rydia up.
like, it feels like a party that's really, really good in the early game, but just with permajoin, you don't care how good they are in the early game if they're going to punish you later on in the run.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Although we do see a Stardust Rod hanging out in the Mysidia shops. So with that S Wild flag on, there's going to be a lot of good stuff in shops. It's just a matter of can our runners afford them, since T Pro is the current loot settings for this. So going to be very interesting. to
Early
see what
cursoring
becomes
over
of
on
that.
early cursoring over on Ninja's side as well will alleviate some of those issues later. Obviously not for a while, but nice to have that kind of potential late game concern out the way early.
Definitely, and we have finally found a character that is definitely highly valuable. Rosa, I am on record as saying I'm not a fan of Rosa as my hero, but Rosa is basically an auto take on any other hero. You just want Rosa on your team. She is too darn good, too much HP as a white mage, and just learns all of her spells super early. Cure 4 at level 38 and things like that. She is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think healers are always super valuable anyway, and she's far better than any healer in any RPG should be.
And looks like Ninja doing some looting of Antlion Cave. Jabra TR, having seen a couple extra shops, going to go get his Rosa now as well. Ninja also going to give us a check of this Antlion Cave, picking up an extra Star Veil, an extra Star Dust. Not a rod, but the J item along the way. It will also be interesting to see what our runners do once or if they get to Mount Ordeals. I assume that will be happening at some point, because they do have to take on that final Ordeals boss with just Edward. So Poison Arrows and Samurai Bow might be going to that Edward for Ordeals, because we haven't really found anything better, and that's a bit of a spooky proposition to go after that fight right away.
Yeah, really gotta it's always kind of a daunting prospect with Hero to go to Ordeals too early because it can become this massive roadblock. But at the same time, early teller, that's a very high priority at this stage, and it's just a question of obviously it's a little more difficult to scout any information with it, depending on what the boss is, because sure, some bosses you can tell what they are instantly. If it opens with count, you know what you're in for. But if it just opens with an attack,
Well, it's funny you say that. If it opens with count, it could actually be one of two bosses. Uh, it could be either Plague or Wyvern, because Witchburn is on. So kind of an interesting thing with the random attack from Wyvern. We might get tricked into thinking it's something it's not. So I always love the Witchburn side of things, because of what it presents to us from the random standpoint. And that is Odin. You get to see the sprite change. The sword goes up.
The brief spoiler on the flicker there, yeah.
Looks like Odin is down. Jabra TR picks up a magma key, I believe, from the freebie, from the Bedward freebie. E-Ninja picks up a package. Now, this is interesting with the free key item giving the magma key. E-Ninja in the last tournament, ZZ5, made a habit of not going to pick up the free key item, and it never burned him. Now, in this particular seed, I hope that he's on his P's and Q's and goes and picks up that that free key item, because he's going to want it this time around.
It'll be fine. It'll be a look into 2 of the required bosses on the path.
That would be pretty funny if that happened. We do see on Jabra TR's side, we have Artemis arrows for sale. Huge pickup for those Artemis arrows. Those are just really high attack and also hit dragons. We also see a Bahamut summon. If I am our runners, seeing that Bahamut summon and knowing that there's a Rydia, I am kind of one-stop shopping and buying that Bahamut and getting that Rydia, and then I've figured out what I'm doing for my early game, and it is Tiny Child Go Burr.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh.
And yeah, Ninja taking a reset there. We saw the shift with Rubicante there, swapped over to reveal his wonderful leg, as we often refer to leg day for Ruby. So we know that there's a Ruby there. It's not a required fight. Also a duplicate Rosa, and Ninja says, I'm good, I'm out. I'm gonna go peek his next boss.
Definitely a big divergence between the two of them right now in terms of like the amount of treasure they're looting. Jabron's going for a lot more. Went through Watery Pass, said no to the Rydia, but went through for the treasure there. Um, Ninja bailing on both Hobbs and leaving before the Rydia. I it's like I like both sides of this. The payout on the looting in the flag set like this is so potentially high, and at the same time, like, it's still that time cost, it's still that time commitment, but it's a very clear kind of divergence and difference between the two runners at the very least, which is always great to see, because the last thing you want is kind of two people following each other's footsteps the whole time.
Yeah, I will say that even if they were to follow each other's footsteps, we would see vastly different experiences, I think, for our runners. And part of that is just the amount of shopping that Jabron TR has done. Having gone through and purchased things like Artemis arrows and a couple of other goodies, that Sid is really strong on Jabron TR's side. Ninja skimping on the shops a little bit is going to hurt him in the long run, but not going to be too damaging overall. Both of them doing a good job of scouting the bosses, making sure it's nothing they have to defeat, making sure to leave no stone unturned as far as that's concerned. And then it looks like we're gonna get those Mysidia character checks from Ninja, while Jabron TR are gonna head into to Antlion Cave and do a little peeking here and get his package as well. I do wonder on Ninja side at what point we're going to get that package check and see what the package character is, because if that's a Cecil, if it's a Fusoya, even an Edge, I would be very much so one to consider all three of those.
Yeah, 100%. Like this, kind of touched on it earlier. There's a lot of kind of reasonable early game options right now. Sid alone is enough of an early game option, but when Rose is kind of your late game carry at this point, that's not a great place to be in. You kind of want a little more late game damage output, if nothing else. And Fu is just, a full game carry, but
Yeah, Fu is, interestingly enough, amazing up until the very end when he kind of gets overshadowed by other mages, but even a bad nuke is still a nuke. And so Fu will get you there. He'll help get you there for sure. I'm interested to see if we end up picking up that Rydia. And there's just another Sid hanging up on Ordeals. So I believe that brings us to a count of 2 Rosas, 2 Sids, a Rydia, a Tella, a Yang, and our Edward hero. That is full on reject percent, other than the Rosas, but we haven't found the gear for her. No Heroine Robe, no Artemis Bow, I don't believe. Just Artemis Arrow Samurai Bow, so pretty rough sledding for our runners as far as the characters are concerned. Even with S Wild on, these are not the characters that can really make great use of all the goodies in the shops.
yeah, and like distinct to 9, you kind of assume you're going to get a couple of good characters here and there. There's a reasonable chance that those 3 characters you mentioned earlier are just stranded away somewhere, and only a couple of characters missing, but if it's from that pool, like...
Yeah, there's an edge on Jabron
Oh,
TR's side from the package. I think this is an auto take, honestly. With Eddie as the hero, Eddie is very fast. Oh, and there's our Demus we see turn to mist over on
oh.
Ninja's side. But on Jabron TR's side, Edge is fast enough to keep up and even surpass Eddie as far as agility, which makes him very viable for both the early and late game, especially with the S Wild shops on. It's just the type of thing where Edge is going to be phenomenal early, mid, and late game. So I think this is an absolute no-brainer on Jabron TR's side. Definitely approve of the pickup here. And it's another boss check in Kaipo. So who knows, the package could have an Edge and a required boss.
Have we seen any good Edge gear Yeah, I can't remember seeing anything, but there's been a
Uh,
lot of item pickups.
yeah, I haven't recalled anything that we've seen yet. I know we saw boomerangs and a couple darts, but not really the end game gear you'd want. But I would expect that Jayburn TR are going to do some shopping in Kaipo here if he hasn't already once the package fight is over, and we might get a couple other shops from there. And to answer from chat, what are we fighting? We're fighting Demist because, well, it's enemy unknown, and we saw turned into mist, and we know what that means. But we get some information here on Jayburn TR's side. We get a sparkle! Yay! Everything's a sparkle, y'all. Got him.
Oh,
Ah.
oh no. At least it's in a fairly easy slot, I suppose, but
Yeah, this is interesting. Jayburn TR may need to get the Artemis arrows and Samurai bow off of Sid here. Could also use an HP-based J item with Sid here, as long as Val doesn't have perfect magic defense. Although with that Stardust not hitting for anything, that means that there is perfect magic defense here. So what that means is that you can't do magic damage here. It's going to have to be physical. And so Jayburn TR takes out that Val, gets his edge. We see Ninja resetting on the second fight of Ordeals. The reason for that is it was Dark Knight Cecil. Ninja wants to complete his meta objective of hiding Edward. And so that meta objective is basically you have to use Edward to hide against either Evil Wall Plague, Zeromus, Odin, or Dark Knight Cecil. Just one of them. Doesn't need to be all of them. But Ninja going to be a little bit slow on getting that hide off with Eddie, so we might see a reset here, or he might just carry on again. Might not have the agility set up quite yet to get through this. So looks like he's just going to carry on this time and move on to the changing room, if you will. And Jayburn TR gets some hourglasses and Kaipo and some exits. Those are both huge because we don't have a natural exit caster yet on this team. And hourglasses are just really strong. And another Rydia hanging out in Kaipo. That is our third dupe already. So if you are on Jayburn TR's side, what would you be thinking, Yoshi? Where would you go from here? I see him stopping in Baron, but would you
right.
go shopping for Edge? What would be kind of your plan here?
I think on the one hand, like, you know, I said earlier, I think scouting the characters, there's still a couple of characters we don't know about in this seed. Being able to look at both the inn and then the castle is really good for that front. I think I'd want to be heading underground as well. The shops there in particular are just potentially like there's again characters to consider there, checks, like the speed of the underground checks early on in particular I think is always really good, and yeah, getting the dwarf and Tomra shops. Probably the Fey March as well. Kind of monsters.
Yeah, definitely makes sense to me. We see Fire 2, Lit 2, Ice 2. That is going to be Dark Elf. That is going to be a boss that is, well, not terribly difficult. We're going to see the Edge that is now double longsword equipped, and then Sid do tons of damage because the second phase of that is a dragon. And just another Rosa here as well. So that is 4 dupes. And Edward, unfortunately, this is one of the things we were a little worried about, is Eddie is a squishy, and Eddie got squished.
Oh, the hide against Golbez there at the very least. On Jabron's side.
Yeah, very heads up to hide for Jabron there. That's going to give him an extra attacker against this Golbez on the back end. Also give him a better chance of keeping Edge alive. Edge can tank the Lit 3s, the Viruses, the Fire 2s here. So as long as Edge lives, Jabron TR is going to be fine to get through this fight. So naturally, of course, the first thing that happens is Edge gets eaten, and Jabron TR loses a 1 and 3. It'd be like that sometimes, though.
Naturally. Rando gonna rando.
To answer a question from chat, E Ninja did not make it through the DKC hiding Edward. So yeah, no meta objective yet for E Ninja. We do see some punches coming out here in rapid succession. Looks like it's got to be Dark Imps based on the formation there and the volume of attacks.
Oh, yeah.
So I think Ninja needs to get out like a Stardust, a Grimoire, some sort of J item, and just roll medium to high on it, and just off those Dark Imps. I think he'll be fine, but gotta be Dark Imps there. That is scary because that spot has pretty high physical attack early on, so Eddie is gonna get squashed quite a bit.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of fight as well where once you know that, going in, being able to throw an item down or something just to kind of stabilize the fight, you have to know to do that first. So one where the enemy unknown might have actually played a pretty big part in this, and now the fight will be more manageable because of that information gathering.
Yeah, one of the things that I love to do on Enemy Unknown is to use we'll get to that in a second, because that's a Darkness Crystal from Baron Inn, and there is a Tella available should we want to do a D Machine grind. That is on the table now. We have Darkness, we have Magma Key, all of the options are out there. The seed is our runner's oyster. But getting back to the Enemy Unknown portion, what I love to do is to take something like a Thor Rage and to just use it to start out every single fight by just going to use that Thor Rage, trying to have it target everything in the fight, and that'll tell me what the battle formation is. And typically from that, you can kind of figure out and deduce what it is that you're fighting against based on the formation. So like you'd know from Dark Imps, because of the formation, that's what you're fighting. Or you'd know if it was like Baigen because of the orientation, or Magus Sisters, or Calbrena dolls. It's a little less helpful on single target bosses, but for the multi-target bosses, you can basically figure out every single one. So that is something I haven't seen our runners do yet, but can definitely be helpful if you're ever playing this flag, the Enemy Unknown flag, that using some sort of J item to deduce who you're fighting against before you even get started can be huge.
Yeah, and I imagine like the majority of bosses are single target, so it's like more often than not it won't tell you that much, but it's a pretty hefty percentage that it will give you information. I really like that.
Yeah, and looks like Jabron TR heading into Mysidia.
Are we going to see the Tella pickup? Is this? Yeah.
Yep, here is Tella. So that is a party of Edge, Sid, Rosa, Edward, and Tella. So we're gonna get a... We might get a baby D Machine grind here. I don't think it's going to be a full one. We might not get one at all, and he just wants Tella for the utility. It's kind of tough to say. But this is definitely going to be interesting to see, because we don't have a lot of endgame power with this team. I think we're pretty dedicated to Zerkers with a Rosa as primary white mage, Tella as secondary white mage, and what little black magic he has access to. I guess there is one primary thing that we have on the table. MP glitches on. So Tella's MP concerns are alleviated a little bit. He still has the limitations of Tella's, HP pool and lack of agility. but MP glitch is on should our runners decide to use it, which does make Tella a bit stronger.
Yeah, I guess the only kind of daunting thing with this as well is filling up that party of 5 with 2 characters still missing, I think. So the worst thing now would be to kind of pick up one of your characters that's available at this point, go up to the moon, or go down into Dwarf Castle or through Baron or something, and immediately see a Cecil at this point. At that point, you're kind of second guessing yourself on the teller, but if you don't see one of those, if you just see another duplicate or one of the twins, maybe, then you're feeling pretty good about this one.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see who those remaining characters are. As you alluded to, Yoshi, I do believe we are too shy. I think we've seen Rosa, Tella, Sid, Edge, Eddie, and that's 5. We've seen Yang and Rydia, which would be 7. So I do believe we are too shy of seeing our full complement of characters. That would lead me to likely believe that one of them is Fusoya, because of the way that standard works. Fusoya has to be gated, and with all of our free character checks ending up with no Cecil, with no Palom, with no Porum, those 3 in particular, you would have expected to see one somewhere on the overworld already. That tells me almost certainly Fusoya is somewhere in the sea, and maybe in multiple places. So I do wonder if any of our runners might have buyer's remorse, if you will, if they take some of these characters a little early versus taking them a little bit later and maybe leaving that space for a Cecil. And we do see a successful hide here from Jabron TR. Eddie was able to tank, I think, 2 waves there and then hide for the 3rd one. So we will let Club Captain Alchemy decide if that is sufficient enough to complete the meta objective, and how gracious she feels today as to whether that's going to be good or not. We wait with bated breath, Alchemy. Just a single dark wave, which would technically not be the majority of the fight. Sorry,
Also worth noting.
The vast majority. Go ahead. My
Yeah,
apologies,
no,
Yoshi.
I was going to say, we also saw the very early Odin, so they didn't have the opportunity to hide on that one, just because they needed all the support they could get at that stage. So, kind of running out of bosses to try and get those hits against.
Yeah, I know that we do have these 2 runners, Jabron TR and E-Ninja, on screen. I know we also have 2 runners off screen running this, Tybalt 2010 and Scythe Marshal, I believe. And so I'm also curious to see, even if we don't get the meta objectives from our runners on screen today, if some of our other runners are able to make that happen. So hopefully we do get that meta objective, because it's always fun to see those. Also, I would love to see some Plague Hide strats, or even some Zeromus Eddie strats. I don't know if our runners know the Eddie strat for Z. It is quite difficult. It takes about 20 minutes to do, but it is doable with Justin Edward. I
I've
think you'd have to get him super speedy with a Silk Web to pull it off here. It's a little tough with Sea Hero, but I think it's doable. I've never personally tried.
Yeah, I've heard about this. I've never tried it, and I've never actually seen it happen. So I would love to, but with Sea Hero, that sounds like a terrifying prospect.
Yeah, the best that you could hope for, and I have to look at the flags now while we pause it if this is even possible. I don't see no adamants on, which means if we can get an adamant armor and we get like, I forget which one it is. Maybe the Apollo harp is like plus 15 agility. We could get Edward up to the point with enough gear and enough agility that he could get to Zeromus's 69 agility. I know, I said the number. Relax, calm down, friends. We could get Eddie to basically agility parity with Zeromus. Eddie would be RA5 if we used a Silk Web on Zeromus. It would put Zeromus to RA10. You might be able to actually do one-on-one hide strats with Edward. Jabron TR could go for that. I know that he loves his Foo and Friends. I learned Foo and Friends from Jabron TR quite a while ago based off of an underground racing club. Years ago now. I love being able to say that. But it's one of those things where Jabron TR has the knowledge and the skill to do it. It's just a matter of, would you think to do it and try to put on that type of a show in this environment? I don't know. I'd love to see it too, though, to piggyback on what you said, Yoshi.
It's always the kind of thing where it really depends on not just the runner, who the runner is, but how they're feeling on the day as well. There are some people who will absolutely never go for that kind of strategy of like the spectacle is great, but it's so unlikely to work, and like actually getting to that stage, at the very least, not something they can even consider worrying about until, I think, like you mentioned, if you don't see an adamant, it's not even an option. You can't even start to consider it.
Yeah, I think it requires both an adamant and, as Alchemy, our restreamer and club captain, is pointing out, the Apollo Harp or Loki Lute as well, which give 15 extra agility. So you would need to have a lot of things come together. It'd be quite the confluence of events. But speaking of a confluence of events, Jabron TR is in the Giant of Babel right now. I do believe we are either getting the cheekiest of Giant of Babel checks for bosses, which, given we have 4 bosses and we have not located any of them yet, it's not a bad idea. But also, this is probably a D machine waiting to happen, since Jabron TR has completed everything he needs to set this up. And Alchemy also pointing out, wonder if he will pick up the last arm chest. Doesn't look like it so far, but we do have Tele set up with the MP glitch right now, and that is really important because it means that we don't have to worry about MP for this D machine grind. Tele can cast Cure 4, Tele can cast Weak until he is blue in the face, and all of the dragons are dead. Back attack, never a fun time here. One of the things that our runners could do to help mitigate this, you can go through and you can actually equip your hero, in this case Edward, with a cursed ring. Set the rest of your party to RA1. It would keep your ability to run away from surprise and back attacks. It would also make it so that everybody in the party is going to be the same functional speed. Your Tele is going to be basically as fast as your Edge then. Would make the D-Machine grind quite a bit easier. So I don't think the Curse Ring is on Edward right now, which is going to make this a little bit wonky for Jabron TR. That Curse Ring allowing agility parity would definitely be helpful here, but looks like we're just going to go without. Oh, we have a Dr. Luge sighting. Balnab invisibly beating up the doctor. But this also could be an extra character check on E-Ninja's side. Baron is gated. We could see a Cecil, we could see a Fusoya. Fu obviously would be the big one. It would also mean he could probably get away from worrying about a D-Machine grind, especially if a Fu is picked up. So very interested to see what becomes of this Baron check on E-Ninja's side. And looks like we're going to get the full fight from E-Ninja. Not that we can see any of it, but we're getting the full fight.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, I'd never really considered how bizarre it is to do a D machine grind where you can't see the enemies. But that's one of those ones that kind of catches you off guard, I think. You're very used to thinking about going into something like this. If you're going into it for the first time, you're there thinking of, like, okay, what bosses do I need to watch out for? What's the kind of thing I need to keep in the back of my mind? Like, if I see this, it has these different options. And, you know, you mentioned earlier Witchburn and how that kind of throws a wrench into things. But this is one of those ones that you're not going to think of. This is not going to cross your mind when you're looking at the flag set.
Yeah, I have done a D machine grind on Wacky Enemy Unknown once, and it was weird because I also got back attacked just like Jabron TR did here. So it's one of those where it was like, I don't know what's happening. I have a good idea of what I'm supposed to do, but I'm confused. And so, like, it's hard to really feel right about it. Also, that punch, that tells us this is not the fight, because a D machine would never punch there unless it was aggressed upon. So by seeing that punch come out, that means that was a horseman grind, and that is not the grind that we are looking for in this case. And horsemen, like everything else up here, punch really flippin' hard. Ninja looks like he decided to take the path of least resistance here. Going back and saving after that Luge fight, did not like how long that took. And going to then go to the Baron Throne, just didn't want to lose that progress.
Mm-hmm. Which, like, obviously, I think Ninja going for the kind of potential of these gated characters, these, like, trying to get that Fusoya or Cecil or something. The downside to that is you're going through a lot of this early game with a party of 3. There are going to be fights that are far more difficult than they quote-unquote need to be.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting for our runners that neither checked the Lunar Dais, and that neither one has Iridia on their team. I find that to be quite interesting. With Bahamut available, especially for Jabron TR, I would have loved to see, just a snap pickup of Iridia. It looks like we're getting multiple attacks. I think this might be the Calbranidals from the volume of attacks that are coming out, and the fact that they're not dealing any damage. Excuse me. So I think that this might just be like throw a J item when the fight. Yeah, there's no other ball formation with that arrow hit from Rosa that can do that. So, yep, the Grimoire is a very smart throw here from Ninja. Anything like Shiva, Ifrit, anything like that will clear these, or Titan, Leviathan, Bahamut, even Odin. Rama should do it as well. Yeah, nicely done by Ninja there, adapting to the fact that it was that Calbranidal fight, and he is rewarded with a Tela. Air quote, rewarded. Alchemy, just throwing this out there. I know that you and C maybe have a history, but the flag is off. You can put the full complement of 9 characters in, right? Just, feedback and ideas. I'll post it in there later, and you can respond as needed. Anyway, so at least our tracker, who is doing a wonderful job today, Nick Curry, does not have to worry about keeping track of extra characters because they don't exist. Yay! Good job, Nick Curry.
Ooh. Okay, that's a really big find then.
Yeah, Twin Harp is phenomenal there. E-Ninja taking a little bit of a break here. It's a good cutscene to use the bathroom if ever needed. Baron launching the Lunar Whale, fighting King Queen Evelyn. those are all good bathroom breaks. So if you gotta go, you gotta go, and that's a good one to do it on. But yeah, that twin harp is kind of required. So
Yeah,
Baron, definitely big.
and also just means you can spend a little less time scouting bosses as a whole. Like, we're not going to see the full 6 objectives completed here. Uh, just being able to get both of those out the way back to back, and then it's just boss rush, pretty much. Find your bosses, take them down. So there's less worrying about, obviously, still some worrying about the items, but less worrying about the items and more worrying about just where can I find the most bosses in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah, and it's interesting if we look at our key items. We have a package, we have a twin harp, we have the Baron key, obviously, we have the darkness crystal. With the giant available, now having that twin harp, that means that for Ninja, he only has about a half a dozen bosses he doesn't have access to. There's a real chance that he is actually in go mode right now. I mean, go mode minus actually having any objectives, of course. But he could have access to literally everything he needs already. So it's possible, like, the Moon has one or two bosses, the Giant could have a boss. Either Twin Harp could have a boss, Zot 1 could have a boss. Baron Basement, Keyless Tower. We don't have access to the Hook Route bosses, Zot 2, the Sealed Cave, and the Super Cannon Room. But other than that, we have everything.
It is kind of worth noting, though, you mentioned earlier that Ninja had a habit of putting off that free Edward key item, and sure enough, he still does not have that magma key.
Yeah, one of the things about getting to watch so much free Enterprise is you learn people's tendencies and what they do and don't do. And having watched a lot of Ninja play in ZZ5, where he had a pretty nice run in the Blue Moon flag set and Blue Moon side of the tournament, got to watch a number of his races. And that was one thing he hated doing, was checking that freaky item. So sometimes it works out because it can be a chain to nowhere. And sometimes it is really quite a required item, in this case a magma key being very, very strong. Something that our runners probably are going to want to find sooner than later. There could be a hook still, like this Twin Harp, let's say, could give a hook. And that hook could have bosses on it, as you alluded to before. But it might be a situation where Ninja just says, you know what, we'll do a hook route for fun today. Now, Edward C hero hook routes and fun, normally not the F word I would use, but the only one that I'll say on this channel.
I guess it's kind of the situation now where you either want the hook to be available and you can just do that, get through it, and it's fine, and you don't have to worry about the magma key, or at this point you get to the stage where you don't really have any other options available, and you're not going to go and try and fight moon bosses with a team like this, so at that point you almost have to go and talk to Edward. Something in between, one of these ones where you get the Earth Crystal first and you go and do that, and then you get the hook, but you get there and it's a boss that you can't reasonably beat with this team. That's kind of the worst case scenario. You don't want to get caught in between. You either want to be sent there, like sent straight to Edward, or not have to go there.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point, that our runners kind of have their choice of what they want to do, and that can be both a good and a bad thing in a seed like this. It's going to be very dangerous, especially on Jbrun TR's side, because that Baron key, it might be a while before he goes and plays with that Baron key, because he's going to have everybody leveled up. He's going to have the world is his oyster, and Baron is a very long check. He doesn't need the characters. Yes, it is 3 bosses, but the moon is 6. The giant is 2. Dwarf is 2, plus the warp glitch is on. Feymarch is 2. Like, even though Baron has 3 bosses, it's not at the top of the list, so it could be a while before we get that Twin Harp, which we know is hard required. And that's kind of the thing. It's very interesting to see how it'll play out. Whether we end up with one runner who has all of the objectives available to them, which would be Ninja potentially, but one who has all the levels available to them and just goes on this wild goose chase. So very interested to see how the rest of this one plays out because of that.
And yeah, I almost have to imagine that given this level grind, given how many bosses are on the moon, that one's gonna be front and center on Jabron's mind. And Ninja, meanwhile, with the smaller party, that's kind of in the distance. That's the last thing he's gonna be wanting to look at this stage, I'd imagine. So we'll at least see them going off in completely different directions. We'll get all the information on our side, and then we'll just see how they manage to weave into whichever things the other runner has found. But Ninja did get pushed to that Edward check there, so does have the magma key now, and presumably will follow that underground with not that many more options available at this stage.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see if Ninja goes after the Twin Harp check right now. I think the Twin Harp is what drove him to Troya to finally pick up that magma key, but it's going to be a question of does he go through and actually do that check or not? Also, now he sees the Bahamut available. Is he going to go through and pick up that Rydia as his last character? That could be interesting too.
I did notice the slight hesitation on the Bahamut in the shop there, so there's at least that consideration of, do I do this? Is it worth it at this stage?
Yeah, we are going to get a little bit of looting here. There's that heroin robe that we talked. I know that Chad especially was talking about it earlier. That's going to be very interesting to see if we get this Rosa to turn into a warrior princess, and it looks like that's what Ninja is going to do here. I think going to get us a warrior princess Rosa, which is always a good time. Some samurai bow, Artemis arrow, heroin robe action. Yeah, that's your best berserker right now, even better than Edge.
Best white mage, best DPS, just solid tank. She's just good at everything.
Rosa is bae.
So worth noting as well, by the way, this D machine grind is turning into a pretty big one.
Yeah, so I think what Jabron TR is going for here is power overwhelming. Alchemy, again, club captain, is one who is on record as saying that, enough levels and you can overcome anything. She loves her levels, and, I tend to agree with that. But this is, in fact, going to be a ton of levels. That is 1.02 million, 33 levels on Edge. That's a number. I don't think we get any slingshots, but that is a ton of levels. Sid is going to have like 6,000 health, or maybe not quite that much, but a lot of health. And we get 3 Zeus Rages. Yippee.
Yeah, not worrying about anything for a while now. Might still be some concerns, but not until pretty much Xeramus.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that is level, that's low 50s for everybody. Jabron TR also going to give a peek here at the element spot for the boss. E-Ninja going to give us a save going before this Twin Harp, because this could be a little spooky, less so with that now super beefy Rosa. But yeah, looks like we're approaching a music time, and Mylon Z hanging out at the element spot. That is going to be pretty easy to deal with, but Yoshi, what's about to happen here with this here twin harp?
Oh, jeez. So firstly, we've got to wait for the party to fall. Unfortunately, not the best equipped for that one, but
See, the correct answer here is nothing special, and we just keep talking the entire time.
as if my experience is anything to go by, it will be a song from the Luna games, and I don't know any of them. And
Ah, but we must get Berg. Berg is good. Berg is life. Berg is love. But yes, friends, enjoy the music. DJ Spoony B gonna give us some rockin' tunes. Have fun, y'all. All right, and that was the final battle from oh wow.
incredible.
From Legend of Zelda, and there we get Link to the Past, excuse me, and we get the hook on E Ninja's side. So even had he not picked up that magma key, the hook was there. But this does give Ninja access should he pick up a pink tail fairly early. To be able to go through and take out, or excuse me, to acquire a pink tail, which would be very nice. And I didn't happen to catch it. Do we know what the last boss was on Jabron TR's side?
I thought I saw a fast, so I think that's I didn't see the start, but
If it opened with fast, that I think opening might have to be Witchburn.
Baigan would make sense as well. It might have been...
But yeah, if it went punch,
Yeah.
punch, punch, and then fast, then yes, it would be Baigan. Otherwise, it would have. I just don't know, having missed it, if it was single
Yeah.
target or multi-target. But yeah, fast would either be Witchburn or Baigan. If it didn't punch, then I think that was our Witchburn Wyvern.
Ooh. Fast is a terrifying thing to see on Wyvern, but thankfully not going to care too much about it. Don't need to do it. Don't need to fight it. Just get out of there again.
Yeah, that's a big old do not want. Not interested in fighting a Wyvern that is going to be reflecting nukes quite quickly. Although on Jabron TR's side, that Sid could probably solo that fight, to be honest. Having Artemis arrows and being able to tank a nuke or two, I think Sid actually would probably be able to get the job done. And on Jabron TR's side, this is one of the things we kind of alluded to earlier, that he's going to be pretty strongly taken away from the Baron key, even though he tried to use it there to, drop it into the well, which doesn't quite work. It makes a lot of sense to fade Baron in this case. So I definitely think that Jabron is playing the numbers here. And unfortunately for him, the numbers are not in his favor on this seed. That we know that Baron is hard required, and it might be a while before we see him go there.
And I guess to contrast that, Ninja here doing a pretty big, overworld cleanup. Just taking out these... Oh, we got the spoilers on the boss again. But yeah, just kind of cleaning up those overworld checks, taking the slightly easier fights early on, and also just... It feels like a very thorough game plan that kind of, okay, just sweep out all of this area and then move forwards, and then sweep out the next area and then move forwards.
Yeah, the only thing that Ninja hasn't done on the overworld at this point is Baron Basement, and that's not exactly an easy sell with this team right now. Jabron TR would have no issue with it because he's got all the levels in the world, but on Ninja's side, it definitely makes sense, and there is just a Gungnir Spear from Fabul Defense. That would be cool if, we had someone who can use it. I guess Edge can dart it.
Yeah, it's a nice dart, not much more, but... Just flinging around Holy Spears seems like a game plan.
Yeah, if all else fails, throw the kitchen sink at it. And we have, I think based on the position here, this might be our Baigan, actually. Could also be Mylon and friends.
That looks like a Baigan, I think. There would be nothing in that spot for Mylon, I think.
Yeah, I think this is a Baigan. Yeah, because there was the 3 targets. Yeah, so that's definitely Baigan gonna fall over. So yeah, that also confirms then that it was our Witchburn Wyvern on the Giant, because Baigan could have been the only other thing to go fast there. So we now know that Wyvern's gone, we know that Baigan's gone. Those are 2 spooky bosses that are not going to be on the moon, which is good for our runners. And let's see, Dwarf Castle has a Yong. Again, Alchemy. I do say, we are still missing 2 characters. Are you sure you're actually turned on Distinct 9?
Just one Fu in the Giant, and where's the Cecil? What's the worst place for the Cecil to be at this stage?
It's like a Sand Ruby behind an Ogopogo gauntlet, and that has a Cecil, and there's a Fusoya on the Giant or something like that. And those are the only 2 Cecil and Fus in the seed. Kind of a mean Dwarf Castle, to be totally honest. Baigan is rough at the first spot into Ogopogo. That's a pretty brutal 1-2 combo there. So Jabron TR on the back of all those levels able to get through it. But that would be very unpleasant otherwise. So well done to get through that, through the power of that D Machine grind.
And kind of goes back to what we were saying before as well, with there is definitely a real cost to that D Machine grind. in a seed like this, but seeing already the kind of rewards of that, it's already paying off in a pretty good way there, and a tower key pickup as well.
Yeah, that tower key is nice. It makes the tower a 2-for-1. Uh, Basically, you can just head to the tower, pick up those key item checks, and kind of carry on, get the boss checks as well. Well, my alt gauntlet at Masa Altar for the Sand Ruby Dream is dead. That's fine. We see Atella on the moon because, again, Distinct 9 does not exist. Cough, cough. Laugh, laugh. Yeah, so that is more character checks. So the Sand Ruby was what, a Iridia, I believe?
I think so, yeah.
So, oh, we get 99 carats. Well done, Jabron TR. But yeah, this is interesting because we're kind of running a little thin on where our bosses can be at this point. It's kind of neat that we're this deep into the seed. We've seen everything on the Giant, courtesy of Jabron TR. We've seen everything on the Overworld, courtesy of Ninja, with the exception of Baron Basement. We've now seen Dwarf as well. We have not come across any of our 4 bosses at this point. So no Water Hag, Antlion, Mombomb, or Gauntlet. Rather surprising, given how much has been accomplished by our runners as we just approach the hour mark, that we haven't seen any of those bosses.
Yeah, and obviously, the further this goes, the more you're kind of getting scared at the prospect of some of those moon bosses, but the objective ones, for the most part, not too terrifying to find on the moon. We'll ignore the gauntlet. We'll pretend the gauntlet's not there. Bomb can be scary, I guess, the wrong team setup, but
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things to me is not the question of is Antlion on the moon, but just where, because we know Antlion's always on the moon. That's just kind of a thing. Uh, it is Antlion's natural habitat. So I know that we can just check that box off, that Antlion is up there. And it's just a matter of where's the Water Hag, the Mombomb, and the Gauntlet. But we see Ninja gonna go underground now as well. We see on Jabron TR side, we get Count. That is play. So we could get some Eddie strats here. Or we just murder it. Okay, goodbye, Blake.
Edward did hide for the majority of the fight. It didn't really influence the fight in any way, but
Yeah, I think that's going to be a pretty tough sell. If we didn't give the meta objective credit on hiding from one of the 3 waves, I don't think that Eddie hiding from Plague and not doing the Starveil Reflect kill, I don't think that's going to count. So I appreciate you stretching that, making that logical jump for our runners, but I don't think it's going to go with Alchemy there.
I tried to give them a favor.
But worth noting, I believe that only leaves Evil Wall and Zeromus now for Eddie to do the majority of the fight while hiding. So it is getting down to the nitty gritty for Jabron TR on that meta objective. Realistically, it doesn't have to be completed. The thing with the meta objective is it's optional. You can go through and do it. You don't have to go through and do it, but it does give you some club rewards, if you will, where you get to have some choices over like hero selection and stuff like that for the following week. So that's the reason why the meta objectives are there. It's to kind of add some more flavor to it. I think the way that Alchemy has it set up is that anyone in the top 3 is able to get the meta objective completed, and I believe they then qualify to pick the hero. Something like that. She can tell you in chat more about it, folks.
A hardwood
Ah.
floor finisher. Okay. Are there a lot of hardwood floors in Tomra?
Is wood a material that exists in the underground? Given all the lava, I think that would be a very poor design choice. I'm just saying. But we are going to get our first peek at the Fey March. And also worth noting, Jabron TR did the full tower and managed to find 0 of our required bosses as well. So we could get something fun in the Fey March, like an Antlion or a Mom Bomb at the Leviathan spot, where they'd be super punchy, something you just don't want to deal with. The Gauntlet down here would also be very annoying because I don't think we've seen a Mute Knife for Edge. I don't know if we got Mute Arrows for Rosa. That could be something beneficial for our runners, but not a ton going on yet. Well,
All
you
or
don't.
nothing from the tower.
Yeah, you don't hate a power shirt, but you don't love it either.
Yeah. A little earlier, maybe you're happy to see that. It's never bad, but I think at this stage, you really want to get those items or bosses. You want something that will push you towards a completion at this stage, I think. And yeah, just a whole lot of nothing that will do anything for that.
Well, Ninja is up against something that is punching, and punching very hard. Oh, that's our Antlion at
I
Leviathan.
see.
Possum happy. Runner sad. Yeah, that's a fight that exists, y'all. I think Jayburn will be fine with it because he has all of the levels. Ninja is not taking that fight. He's
We
going to
have
go.
illusions to make it that little bit nicer, but
No.
I don't know.
Ninja will be back.
Yeah.
Oh,
CPU on the other one then.
yeah, that's not a great Fame Arch. That is for E Ninja a I will be back, maybe never. And for Jabron TR, that is probably a Fame Arch that he can take. This CPU will be a little bit awkward. The Leviathan, he's going to have the power to take it, but he's still going to need to get Blinks up. Because that Antline is still going to hit for like 2k. It's pretty rough. But while all this is going on, I do want to make sure that we give our runners our thanks for doing a great job putting on a fantastic show for us. Both Jibra and TR and E Ninja doing great things on stream today. And then also behind the scenes, of course, we have Alchemy who rolled this gem. We have our tracker Nakuri. We have Yoshi making her debut for Enterprise commentary and doing a fabulous job of it. So thank you everyone behind the scenes for doing a great job.
And Possum carrying me through my first commentary.
Lies and slander, you are doing great. Now I am interested on Ninja's side here. Given the difficulty of this dwarf castle for an unleveled party, if he's actually able to get through this or not, because this is a spooky fight. Jabra and T are about to get the good in gigantic air quotes news that he's found Antlion. And yeah, there's 2,000 damage to Edge right off the bat. Not the best. Yeah, probably thinking I need to do a little bit of prep here. He's at okay, so I like this. He's setting up the MP glitch so that Tella can help out. So the way that this works is you want to be on a spell you can't cast. And then basically on the same frame that you move over to a spell you can cast, you basically push the confirmation button, and what happens is it will cast a spell that you can't actually cast. So in that case, JBRTR cast a Cure 4 with 7 MP left, and it basically underflowed his MP. So now he has all of the MP on this Tela to help out with this antline as well, which will definitely be beneficial for him.
And like before resetting, we saw him go for the blink onto Tela. That's going to be a lot more valuable now when Tela can actually help out on the blink front.
Yeah, basically. Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was not expecting a Meteor to be channeled here. I figured we get some blink love from Tela there, but Meteor also works. The Edge having that image spell can do self blink. Ninja does have, I think, a better grasp of this Baigan fight now. He is making some decent progress with that Zerk Edge, but he does still have to worry about, and he doesn't know the fight that's coming, but has to worry about the Ogopogo that is next. Unfortunately, Edge is now down on JBRTR's side, and this is where it gets a little bit spooky because, yeah, losing those characters means that while channeling just Meteor with Tela, this is going to take a long time to channel every time, and it's going to be a lot of blinks that Rosa's got to throw out. Definitely one way through this fight, and not one that I would have thought of. I would have been Zerking Edge and just kind of YOLOing here. I don't know which is faster, because it's going to take like 5 of these, I think, with Tela. So, very interesting. I like the approach. It's certainly different.
And Ninja, of course, for what it's worth, hoping to find a better character after this fight that would have helped with the next fight being Ogopogo, but we again know that there are, I was going to say no good characters in this seed. There are good characters, but he already has them.
Yeah, he has Edge and Rosa. I mean, Sid is cool. He helped out early on, certainly, to get our runners started, but this has been quite the slog to get to this point. I think the D-Machine grind was very heads up on JBRTR's side. Again, I do wonder if in the back of our runners' minds that there's still that thought of Bahamut and Rydia were both available. I know that, again, I would have slammed Bahamut Rydia and just been blowing everything up. But that also means you're committing to Rydia. And that can be a tough sell as well because she takes so long to get online. Bahamut will get you to the final fights, but it won't really help in the Zeromus fight. And part of that is planning for the future. If you're trying to get her that million XP she needs for Nuke, it can take quite a while. Whereas someone like an Edge or, a Rosa, they only need about 650,000, 700,000 XP. So it's a lot of extra grinding you have to do to kind of babysit Rydia to get her to where you need her to be. And this is a little scary on Ninja's side.
Yeah, it's only about 700 damage there.
This is a lot scary. Oh. By 5 health. Unfortunately, that Ogopogo gets the better of Ninja, and I think he's probably going to skip out on this Dwarf Castle and head somewhere else. Maybe fancy his chances better. Turning in like Sheila 1, maybe checking the Feymarch freebie, Keyless Tower, any of those sort of things I think would be on the table for him. Could even do some trap chests. I know that chat has pointed out in their courier tracker as well that you could go through and take out some monster boxes either in Eblin or elsewhere to try to get some adamant armors. It looks like we get a ninja sword from the antlion, but that is going to be objective 2 for Jbrun TR. So we do have an objective on the board for Jbrun TR.
Yeah, and our first boss objective total. Still got to wonder where these other 3 are hiding out. You mentioned earlier that there weren't many bosses left, and we've seen a few since then. Gotta imagine at least 2 of them will be on the moon at this stage, but I want to say at least 2. I feel like the moon at this point is almost like half the bosses left, if not more. I'll say I've actually counted it out.
On Jbrun TR's side, we have Zot 1 and 2, Hook 1 and 2, 3 in Baron, the Twin Harp, the Sealed Cave versus the Moon 6. So it's about 40% of the bosses, I think. I think it's about 40-60 split right now. So we're getting very close to just go to the moon. And meanwhile, on Ninja's side, this is something I've seen Ninja do a couple times, where he will go through and sneak a bunch of sirens. I don't know how many he's actually going to sneak here, but he does want some sirens here. May have gotten the amount that he wants now, though. Might be just a couple to get him set up for Dwarf Castle. But also worth noting, he doesn't have a Warp Caster, so won't be able to take full advantage of doing Dwarf as a check. So I wonder if we're going to get like a Rydia pickup or a Tela pickup before he goes back.
Yeah, might be a consideration of Dwarf Castle. Might just be the sirens, the levels, and then just moving on elsewhere, kind of skipping over the Dwarf Castle. And what your other options are at this point, though, like, none of them feel particularly great at this stage.
No, definitely not. And also, speaking of things that don't feel particularly great, Edge just keeps getting Globe 199, which is not great because he's the primary source of damage for Jbrun TR. But, you know, here we are.
I think Jbrun did warp from Dwarf Castle. I think that was the Sand Ruby? I might be wrong on that one.
No, I think you're correct on that. Because I remember saying something to the effect of my dream dying, that the Sand Ruby would be behind a Masa Gauntlet. As a result, it was either Dwarf Castle or Warp Glitch.
Looks like we are going to get a big loot of a tower here on Ninja's side, though.
He might still be looking for more trap chests, maybe still trying to spike in adamant armor to help him through some things. Could also be looking to steal more sirens. Yeah, looks like he does want a few more sirens. One of the interesting things about stealing in this game is enemies have basically an infinite number of the item you're trying to steal. So, you know, one encounter you can steal 30 sirens if you want. Or with Mad Ogres, you can steal 30 Bacchus wine if you want. There's kind of no cap on it. Very interesting from a design perspective. Certainly makes acquiring those items easier.
This CPU, on the other hand, is Oh, well, I was about to say has a lot of health, but sure enough, there it is. And then
Ooh.
Earth Crystal. So Zone 1 already was available, but much more tempting to go there now with being able to get both of the bosses and the check. It's just far more efficient. And I do kind of wonder as well, I feel like that gives a really good direction and also gives a kind of push towards Baron, because after you finish Zot, land next to Baron, what better opportunity is there to do it?
Yeah, that was the thing that I was thinking, is that Earth Crystal is actually really good for Jabron TR because it does push him back towards Baron as much as anything in this seed could. So I do think that is a very astute point, that if Jabron TR is ever going to look at Baron, it's going to be after Zot. Which we know will just have duplicate characters because Distinct 9 is not actually on. Anyway.
We go into Zot, we finally get our last two characters, Palam and Param.
That'd be pretty funny. It would also be funny if it was like Cecil and Fusoya, and you just had to be the CPU at the Asura spot for them. Because that's something that, like, why would you ever do that?
Being the cat claws in the shop here as well is Did Ninja check the shop earlier? Because that Yang at the castle is suddenly going to look a lot more tempting if he sees that. But
yeah, it's interesting on Ninja's side what his fifth character is going to be. I think he's probably holding out for a Cecil or a Fu. But at what point does it become diminishing returns based on just not having access to them? Also, a Crystal Gauntlet is not what Ninja was hoping for from that trap chest. That is unideal at best. He does have 9 Sirens. That'll certainly get him a good chunk of the way to where he wants to be level-wise. It's not going to be a full D-Machine grind like Jabron TR did, but it'll get him nearly all the way there.
yeah, still lacking a little on the key items as well, so not just not getting the 10 item boost, but also not even particularly close to it, with not a lot of checks available that, you know, feel reasonable to do without first getting those levels.
Yeah, I think in Ninja's shoes, a couple of Sirens right now, then do the Fame March freebie, Sheila 1, Dwarf Castle, maybe get to 10 and then finish off the rest of them. I don't hate that. Just a Ninja hat, though, from Sheila 1, so that would not help with the key item count. So not only do we not have 9 characters, we also don't have 9 key items. So we're kind of just stuck a little bit on progression. Looks like Jabron TR has faded Fabul for this amount of time so far. I think that's a Gungnir Spear, though, if I remember correctly, so that's not going to be anything but a nice little dart. And so I think Jabron TR probably heading to Zod after this, unless he just goes and hits the moon at this point. But I kind of feel like if you were hitting the moon, then it would likely have been done right after the D-Machine grind.
Yeah, it's like we're at the point now where the moon feels like an incredibly valuable play, and at the same time, it's felt like a valuable play for a while, and
right,
it's that metric of like balancing the time investment versus and the difficulty levels versus the kind of value of everything else available. As far as overworld checks go, I feel like Zot into Baron is pretty good for that, honestly. Like, they're not the fastest, but it's 4 bosses. 4 bosses, 2 items in quick succession. Opens up a 5th boss if you want to go into the basement as well. So it's that almost feels more efficient than going to the moon at this stage.
Yeah,
Knowing
definitely.
especially that those bosses are going to die to just a couple of hits.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's 5 bosses that you can just go through and clear out without too much to think about. And looks like on Jabron TR's side, we're picking up 20 shurikens. And gonna pick up 8 Bacchus wines as well. I'm a little curious what the shurikens are for. We're also picking up some silk webs, or at least one silk web. I do love that pickup, especially for the Zeromus fight. That is going to come in handy. Silk web casting 2 applications of the slow spell. That is huge to reduce Zeromus' speed, especially. So I like that from Jabron TR's side. And looks like we are going to get that Zot check. It makes a lot of sense. Are we going to get a treasury check and get to play chat's favorite game? And it looks like we are. So get ready to rate that treasury, y'all. A black shirt, a black belt, an Artemis bow, a Sork robe.
Full moon in there for long range, but
I mean, it's max tier 6, it's T Pro. But even for max tier 6, I think that was only one tier 6 item. And it's like 17% to be tier 6, so we should have hit like 3. That was bad. That was just objectively bad.
A pretty big disappointment there, yeah.
I was trying to think of a way to put a spin on that, but no, I got nothing. But
now comes
TR... Oh, go ahead, Yoshi.
I was going to say, now we get the joy of trying to figure out what Jabron TR is going to be fighting when we probably won't get to see much of the boss fight.
Yeah, I mean, one of the interesting things is if it's Water Hag, we'll be able to figure out easily because of the script. If it's Fabul Gauntlet, we'll figure it out easily. With Mom Bomb, there's actually a chance that it just dies because of how slow these spots are going to be compared to his party before we ever even figure out it's Mom Bomb. So that is going to be kind of cool to see what starts to happen because of how fast Jabron TR's party is going to be.
What was that? That target arrow is so far back. Octoman?
It's a good question. I'm honestly not certain. It is Octoman. Yep. Very nice. Yeah, not too long for this world, though.
We saw a single phase shift and then just gone again.
It looks like Ninja is going in for round 2, and somehow we don't have a new character. Alchemy, I'm continuing to shake my fist at you. That is Tella. I was promised 9 characters.
Just another Tella waiting inside.
Well, we got half of the twins. That is that's a Palom. Alright, so hear me out. If you wanted a Palom on your team, all you had to do was beat CPU at the Asura spot and then complete the Earth Crystal with an open party slot. That seems totally reasonable to me. Not.
I will say we've had, or at least Ninja has had, this hook for quite a while. I don't think we saw him go into Cave Eblin at all, so there could just be a Cecil waiting there that we've just not been able to see this entire time.
Yeah, that hook that is accessible to Ninja not only represents the potential character, but also the best shop in the game. Because, well, other than the Ford shop, but it would represent 2 tier 5 items. So that's one where it would be very interesting to see what's down there. Those sirens he stole could have just been for sale. Um, could also have found things like ninja blades, heroin robes, all of that just for sale. We see a Mylon and friends here. Not going to be too difficult. Jabron going to get through this quickly and already is done, in fact. And E Ninja, meanwhile, gets through Dwarf Castle. So we'll see if he's able to pick up his Sand Ruby as well, remembering that the Warp Glitch is on. And looks like Jabron T are going to give us our first piece of new information regarding this Tower of Zot. If this is something like a Luca key, he could definitely chase that right away. But Zot is nothing. Just gives a life staff, which is a cool stick for Rosa, but not what he wanted to see. Moment of truth time. We are getting Baron, which is good news for Jabron TR.
And yeah, Ninja without access to warp there, so picks up a tower key. Not much you'll worry about until you see the Luca key. It's one of those things of you're kind of disappointed you can't get it, but it doesn't mean much until you have to make that decision of, okay, do I go in and do this this check that I could have theoretically done however long ago if I'd had warp.
Yeah, definitely a thing to keep in the back of your mind with 2 warp casters available, not having one of them on your team. That's definitely a consideration that is standing there. Also worth noting, and I don't know how much of a metagamer you are, Yoshi, or how much Jabron TR or Ninja are, but I would be looking at this seed and approaching the 90-minute mark, especially knowing that folks like Sides Marshall and Tybalt are off screen and we don't have any finishers yet in this. I would be very tempted to start checking all of the weird boss locations. The weirder and more out of place it is, the more likely I'm thinking it's got to be there, because this seed has given you potential power if you've been willing to take it. Again, neither of our runners opted to go the Iridia Bahamut route, and I do wonder if our off-screen runners may have also made that same fade, opting to go against that potential power spike. So it's going to be very interesting to see if the bosses are somewhere like the Luca Cave, and then there's a really nasty gauntlet on the moon or something like that, and our runners are all just getting stymied by it.
Yeah, it's also worth noting that we have seen some of those kind of more awkward boss locations. We've seen Jabron go through the entirety of the giant, so we've seen the second giant slot. At this point, you almost have to imagine that there's if like you say, you're into metagaming, I certainly am. At this point, you almost have to think that there's something holding everyone up here. And honestly, I think Jabron going straight to Zot might have been that. Antlion having, or CPU having the Earth Crystal there, is the kind of thing that could hold people up for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, also, the harp coming from Baron, giving the hook, even if you go down and you take the character from the hook route, let's say it is, that Palom maybe was there early on, or, a Cecil or Fusoya, whoever was there. It doesn't necessarily mean you want to go peek those bosses, nor does it mean you could even be able to take on those bosses. So interesting stuff, like, could the hook have all the value, or could it be some awful combination of a Luca key and, like, the second boss on the hook route, where these are just places you don't want to go. Uh, it's going to be very interesting to see where Alchemy and the race bot have hid our bosses today. We are getting our first Baron basement peak from Jabron TR here, so we'll see if we find a required boss down here. Jabron TR is now in possession of that twin harp, which is good. But this is going to be another one of those kind of big moment of truths here. This could put Jabron very close to go mode if this is required. That is Magus Sisters, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's also interesting. You mentioned the Evelyn Cave thing of being able to go through and beat the bosses on the hook route, and I think that's kind of a really interesting. Like that, it's almost like a lose-lose situation. If you go in early and get the character, great, you got the character, and you're not able to beat those bosses. And at that point, it feels like a really big time investment to go back for the bosses when you've already gone through half of the cave, you've already checked the shops, got the character, potentially checked that trap chest on the way through as well. But then the flip side to that is you're going back there later for a character that you could no longer take because you're probably at 5 by that point, and 2 bosses when you have so much else available. It's like there's no point in this seed where those bosses feel good.
Yeah, I think for Jabron TR, after this Baron check, I think this is the time you do the hook route. Or after Baron and Twin Harp. Because I have to assume Twin Harp is next for him. And you have to assume that if the moon had all the value, somebody went to the moon. At least that's what I'd be thinking. Ooh, we do get the Forge.
So we touched on earlier, it was a 2 in 3 to have plus 15 agility. The other 1 in 3 is minus 15, which is going to help on at least a little bit potentially with that agility, but I think we've already seen the curse ring equip as well, so probably not going to make the world a difference at this stage.
You know, it is interesting because Edward is super fast early on, but his agility growth later on is actually not that great. So putting on, if it is like a Loki's loot, for example, which I think is the -5, putting on a Loki's loot and a curse ring is -20 total agility. That's not the worst. I think it would probably drop Eddie to like the mid-teens, which you'd have an RA1 Edge. You'd probably have an RA1 Rosa with the Heroine robe on. So it's really not too bad. You can still get relative agility 1 characters and be able to Zerk. That is a phenomenal Forge shop. Also, I 100% approve of the finest of Coke cabins, the best in the business. That shop was garbage, but that's also S Wild Forge. And there is the Loki loot. So really powerful weapon.
I don't think I've seen that one before, and I love the text of strong against all monster types except slimes.
Looks like that. So I had it wrong. I don't remember his weapons, I'm not going to lie. There's the Apollo harp, the Loki loot.
Requiem.
Requiem harp. So it's got to be the Requiem that's the -5 agility then. But, I mean, that makes Eddie a viable Zerker now. So that's cool. Ninja at the top of tower got his air quote reward. 1 lip bolt. And yeah, that's the terrible reward. I will say on Jabron TR's side, given the lack of key items and some of the difficulty of the bosses and where they ended up, that D Machine grind seems to be really paying off big time for him. Able to get through a lot of these difficult fights very, very quickly has certainly made up the time that he spent on that D Machine grind. Still, obviously, a bit to go here, but that decision early on to take a very marginal D Machine party and commit to that has made his experience on the seed vastly different than Ninja's. So it seems that Jabron TR made the correct play for this particular seed. Ninja's play on most seeds would be perfectly fine. It's just on this one, I think he's been a little bit hard stuck by like the Dwarf Castle bosses and also the party composition really not playing into his favor. Looks like he is still holding out for a fifth character as well.
I think it's interesting as well because we mentioned the key items earlier, and Ninja sat here at 8 right now, but the other ones that we know about from Jabron's side are the Earth Crystal that was behind the CPU, and then the Sand Ruby that was behind Warp, and then the Legend Sword, which is on the Odin slot. Like, these are all things that you aren't going to be able to get unless you probably pick up that Teller. The option of Rydia was there for the Warp, but typically these are going to be, I think, at this point, Teller-locked items. So it's not just the kind of being funneled into 4 party members, but also the fact that even leveling these characters has not been efficient, and just because of the way the seed has played out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to thank you for talking over the starting music there. You are doing a phenomenal job and keep it up. Always talk over music. That being said, I'm going to mute myself now. Enjoy, y'all. And we do have a harp pickup. Excuse me, a hook pickup for Jabron TR. And making use of those exits, Ninja about to get the, again, air quote good news that he's found Antlion. Unfortunately, also about to get the news that he's found Antlion.
Oh. And then finding it after the Bacchus throw as well is just that kind of moment of, am I committing to this fight? Do you just take the reset on the spot and kind of try again with that information, or commit to what you've got in front of you? And sometimes the game just forces your hand on that one.
Yeah, what he's got right now is getting bopped. A lot of bopping. Speaking of bopping, though, Cave Bahamut is a spot that can bop as well. So we'll see what Jabron TR shows us from this Cave Bahamut check. Notably, though, that hook check, as you kind of alluded to, has been faded by Jabron TR. So not going to give us that information before heading to the moon. which I think is a little bit interesting, but may also feel like, well, if the bosses were there, surely somebody would have checked this hook early on, given it was Baron to Twin Harp to hook. But the same thing could be said for the Darkness Crystal and the Moon, since we've had that for an hour and 20 minutes. So
Yeah.
it's a tough spot for the runners.
It feels like a seed like this is the kind of one where, at some point, any kind of metagaming just goes out the window because there are so many caveats to every play. It's like, the hook route would have been really easy to check early, but you're not going to have the levels to go through and check the second slot. And, oh, the runners could have got the Dark Crystal and gone to the Moon early, if they're willing to commit to a teller to do a D-machine grind, potentially. And so you kind of hit this middle ground eventually of, you're asking for so many requirements along the way that it's more likely that you can't read the situation than you can.
Mm-hmm. Yet another fight here where the D-Machine grind going to pay off for J-Run TR. This is a turtle, and this is not a great spot for a turtle. But J-Burn TR able to do enough damage to drop it down to about 1200. Still kills Tella. Edge is going to chew through this, though. And Eddie can help here quite a bit also. Unfortunately, Turtle is not a type in this game, as cool as it would be to be strong versus Turtles.
But it's definitely not a slime, at least.
No, but maybe we have a Siren in J-Brun's inventory, and we see Pink Puffs. The only thing that it wouldn't be strong against. Neil hiding inside the shell wave. One more hit from Edge should do it on J-Brun's side, and see if there's any value in the banana stand, otherwise known as Cave Bahamut today.
Yeah, gonna have to hold on that one. Not gonna know if there's much value there just yet. Although with that said, there aren't many things left that are valuable at this stage.
No, really the only thing left is the Luca key. Pan, Spoon, Pinktail, Pass. None of it technically is progression. And there were Sirens in Eblin all along. So that's a bit of a feels bad on Ninja's side because he could have just purchased those instead of stealing them. It happens though.
And at the very least on our side, we finally get to see what'll be up in this tower, so a lot more information for us. And is this our first time seeing the Moon character here, I think?
Nope, Ninja did go check it, saw it was a Tella, and decided that that was cool and all, but, you know, didn't want that Tella or the other Tella or the other Tella or the other Tella or the other Tella. Well, looky there.
Of course. Of course. Oh?
So that's a Porum. So we know all 9 characters. We have Porum, we have Palom, we have Yang, we have Rydia, Edge, Rosa, Edward, Tella, and Sid. No Cecil, no Fusoya, no Kane. That is quite the roll.
Yeah, I think if you picked 3 characters to exclude, like, okay, Edge over Kane is good, but otherwise, like, that's up there with some of the worst options.
Yeah, losing Cecil and Fu, particularly rough, because those are characters you definitely want. Also kind of rough because I know that off stream, one of our runners, Scythe Marshall, and I know we should generally focus on what's going on our screen, but having played every single race in this season and most of them in other seasons of this club as well, getting to know the regular runners of this flag set, Scythe Marshall is one who loves to not fill up his party and really hold out for the cream of the crop characters. This is a seed in particular that is just going to seem like an incessant level of trolling from Alchemy. I'm very interested to hear and see the race spoilers after the fact, because I know that this is going to be kind of one of those really Alchemy moments from Scythe. So again, we have 4 runners total today: Scythe Marshall and Tybalt off stream, E Ninja and Jburn TR on stream. No finishers yet, so everyone kind of getting the business from Alchemy on this one, which makes for good viewing.
And worth knowing with that, like, the fact that we now know that the characters won't pay off, Jburn TR has been incredibly rewarded for just how early he committed to that D machine grind. Like, that decision was made very early on when there was very little information available, and has really, really paid out in this seed.
Yeah, also with just where the bosses were, like we haven't seen all of them obviously, but just seeing Antlion alone at Leviathan, that almost makes the D machine grind worth it by itself. And we do have a single punch boss here, I believe. This could be our Mom Bomb.
Yeah, it's a pretty wide target on that one as well, so I think that would make a lot of sense here.
Edward, unfortunately not strong against bombs, but still doing very good damage.
Also taking a lot of damage, unfortunately. Just barely hanging on there, though.
Yeah, looks like it's according to chat, Evil Wall. An Evil Wall would make... Oh, okay.
Ah, the hide.
So we'll have to get a verdict from Alchemy on this. Because Edward will be hidden for the majority of the fight. However, it's not going to be the wall doing damage to itself.
Yeah, it's not the Eddie strats, it's just he's hidden away.
I appreciate the fact that Jburn TR has been on like the super gray area of every one of these meta objective fights, just to stick it back to Alchemy for a little bit for the seed.
Didn't touch on it earlier, by the way, but Ninja got through that cave. Saw that the last character was you know, the last of the potential rejects there. Not one that not one that he would have wanted particularly much, and has gone back to do the siren grind with 4 characters again.
Yeah, so Ninja knows 8 of the 9. Ninja does not know about Palom in
Right.
Zot. So I think he's still holding out for either a Cecil or a Fu, which again is the big trap of this seed, or one of the traps of this seed, is that if you hold out for those power characters, you can potentially get very burned here. And it's probably the air quote correct play in most seeds to hold out for one of them. Maybe a little less for Cecil, but certainly for Fusoya. The pan is an interesting key item. It could potentially gate the Luca key, which is another boss check. But other than that, Jayburn TR is down to 3 moon spots and the hook bosses. He has access to every boss except the Luca key, so technically doesn't need any more key items. And we are still awaiting a verdict from our club captain Alchemy as to whether or not hiding Edward and then bashing it over the head with swords and arrows and such is going to be meta objective worthy. Alchemy saying no, the answer is no. So Jabra and TR unfortunately striking out on yet another one.
It's fine, we got hopes on Zeramis. At least I do. I still want to see the Zeramis strat.
But let's see what awaits us. It looks to be a sparkle. Wow. No, it's multiple targets. 3 of the... Oh, we found our gauntlet. And this is not an alt gauntlet either. This is the vanilla gauntlet. So this is 6 fights instead of 5, which is honestly probably better for the runners because all these do is punch, whereas the alt gauntlet has the potential to have some really spooky enemies. Things like, well, not necessarily at this spot, but at like the Crystal Sword altar or the Masamune altar, you could have evil masks, you could have, blue dragons, you could have red dragons, things that you just don't want to fight. So yeah, this is probably beneficial for the runners. Also, that Edward just hit for 8,700. I want to say that was either an imp or a water hag in that spot. I don't know which one, but either way, it was taking a ton of damage from something. Some racial weakness that it has.
The idea of Edward hitting Water Hag for like 8,000 just feels like sweet revenge from Kaipo.
And Ninja, able to get through the Baron basement, does pick up his legend sword. And Loki's loot should be incoming soon for him. I believe that was a gargoyle that just took 9,600.
Yeah, Ninja straight down to pick up this loot, and definitely like gonna stack a lot of power onto the Edward. And kind of, we touched on earlier that getting the agility in the adamant is a potential way to do the Zeramis strat. At this point, is there a world where the pink tail is the item you care most about?
I still think the spoon would be a good find. It's stronger than the Loki's loot. And it doesn't give you the agility awkwardness. But spoon is apparently not on,
Ooh.
so yeah, never mind that. So yeah, the spoon would just be a dart. So yeah, the pigtail would be the best thing. A Masamune is a great pickup, honestly. That's going to do a ton of work for Jabram TR's Ninja, who is now going to be rocking, I believe, Masa Ninja for weaponry. Yeah, that's a pretty big upgrade from a longsword. That's like 25 attack power, 3 agility. It's a pretty big pickup there.
We're gonna get the 2 more fights here, including this one on Jabron's side. That if either of those are either of your objectives, that's it. You're perfectly in position to just go down, take out Zeramus, and wrap things up. Oh, and there we are.
Wow, that is a water hag. That is objective 5 for Jburn TR. So this pretty much tells us that nobody just did the moon forehead. Everybody did all of the other things, I'm guessing. Now we also just want to know, where is this mob bomb?
And yeah, knowing that the moon was the answer, like, the only thing I can imagine is kind of, it's so easy in this seed to kind of hold out for more characters, see who else will show up, and just... Again, obviously every strategy will be kind of subjective. Oh, did find the spoon. But yeah,
Nice
obviously
nice
everything is seed dependent. It's all going to come down to just kind of how things play out in the situation. But in this one, taking that early teller, taking that early grind, has paid off incredibly. And I feel like that's a tough decision to make. I like.
Yeah.
I know, at least, obviously, personal perspective on this one, but I feel like holding out for the characters, I think more people make that play than not, and in this seed, like, it just wasn't the play.
Agreed. 100% agree on that. I think also it's interesting what's happening with Jabron here. He's swag walking. He has a 55 agility Edward. Spoiler alert, that is terrible agility. He needs to get 1 more agility or a lot less agility to get to 56. 50 is also awful. You want 28, 42, or 56, and you want to be slightly over, if anything. So Jabron TR is trying to figure out 47, still bad. So Jabron TR kind of in a bit of a pickle here. I think I would like to see him still consider the cursed ring. Just to see what that would do to agility, if there's a way to get 28 agility. 40 is too shy of where he wants to be. So this is the ultimate puzzle that Jabram TR faces. And this is also one of the issues with doing the swag walk, is that he's in a situation where now he didn't save and he has to get this right this time, or else it gets really awkward. Because if you wipe, you then have to redo the water hag fight, which is not the worst fight to have to do, but it's not great. So if we're at 50 right now with plus 13, we could get as low as like 22. I'd have to look at what's actually equipped again. It's tough to say because Eddie has definitely gained more levels than you would want him to make this comfy. So this is going to be adventure time on Jabron TR's side. But as we approach this final boss, I believe there's a question that we always like to ask Yoshi, and I simply demand of it, as this is your first time on comms, that you are the one
No,
who gets to
no,
ask that
no,
question.
no, no, don't do this. I don't want to do the thing.
All right, I'll do the thing. Whose twerker are we gonna zerker tonight? The true colors emerge. It's Pete. Pete's a good one. People don't know Pete is actually a cat.
Wait, really?
Yep.
It told me of that. I heard Pete's a good one and just got caught up on pizza.
Ooh, pizza. I have a coupon for pizza, but I hardly ever eat pizza. It's been like... Wait, no, I can pinpoint. I haven't had pizza since RPG Limit Break. Also, Edward the Nuke Magnet. Get wrecked, young man. 2180 damage. Even with 1900 health, Edward still dies to the counter nuke. Bravo. If Edward exists, target Edward with counter nuke. Them's the rules. And worth noting, Jabra and TR getting into this fight with Pitomus got sniped by Scythe Marshal off stream, who barely was able to get the win today, just under the 2 hour and 2 minute mark. So very close at the end here. Jabra and TR nearly able to pull off the victory. So GG's to Scythe Marshal off screen, who we did talk about as one of our off screen runners earlier. Great job, of course, to our on screen runners too. But gotta just give Scythe Marshal that little shout out. Congratulations to them on the victory today. Well, it looks like we are getting full-on Zerker strats here. Edward living with 18 health. That is more than 0 health, and so as long as he's alive, that's a good thing. Does this cure for fire and time?
I was going to say, ticking down very quickly here. This is definitely on the edge, but 4 HP.
That's 3 more than you need. That's what they tell me. That's how math works.
And the Antlion down on Ninja's side, so third objective over there does do a 4-person Antlion on Leviathan, which... not the finest 4 characters either. That's an impressive fight to take down with this setup.
Yeah, definitely a fight that exists. Not a fun one. Even less fun when you don't have a full party. So very well done by Ninja there. And we see everybody getting their Bacchus back on over on Jabron TR's side. He is putting out a ton of damage. which is very good. Rosa also being over 2,700 health means she basically can't die, which is a blessing for Jabron TR. Big Bangs cannot do more than 2,700 unless you intentionally boost the magic power by summoning against Aromas, which would take it from a 9-roll Big Bang to a 10-roll Big Bang with a max of 3,000 damage. Spoiler alert, don't do that. Don't cast summons at the right time against Aromas or you'll have a bad day, much like Edward is having a continued bad day. Uh, Otherwise, Rosa cannot die in this fight, and so the fight is pretty much uh, completed at this point. It's just a matter of getting that final damage out for Jabron TR. And we see another black hole come out. Gonna get those Zerks going again. But between this Sid, this Edge, and this Rosa, pretty much no way for this fight to go sideways. Berserk back on Sid. Big delay here probably means rocks are incoming. There's the rocks. We're in the last 12,000 HP for Jabron TR. Sid is punching out of arrows, but Edge is still hitting very hard, and yeah, there will be no more hits, as that is GG to Jabron TR. Very well done. Finishing 209.35, third place overall. Just got sniped by Tybalt off screen with a 208.19. So our off-screen runners, Scythe, Marshall, and Tybalt taking first and second. Jabron TR in a very close third, and Ninja making his way through the seed. Should be going to the moon fairly shortly to collect the rest of his objectives as well. We will see if we can get Jabron TR in for an interview. So hold tight whilst we find that out. Looks like Jabron TR will not be able to join us for an interview today, unfortunately. So we will go ahead and carry on Ninja's side. Looks like on Ninja's side, he has decided to go ahead and forego the moon, and Ninja has decided that he will give us some time back and has forfeited from the race. Understandable, certainly. It's definitely been a slog, so no hard feelings towards Ninja at all for that. He definitely got a rough end of this one, holding out for the
Surely.
characters that just never appeared.
Yeah, I feel like looking at the flag set for this, there are some really interesting options, and I feel like it would have been you could have placed everything, planned this perfectly, and it would have been hard to find something more challenging than this.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see, again, going back to the race spoilers and seeing what, our off-stream runners did to see if anyone really leveraged that potential of a Bahamut Rydia. That's my big question for our runners. Obviously, we won't get to find out from Jabron TR, but I think we will be getting an interview from Ninja here before we find a target to raid over to. And I believe that dinging in our ears is E Ninja joining us. GG's to you, E Ninja, on one heck of a seed from Alchemy there.
Oh, hey, I was muted. Okay.
Well, now you're not. We can hear you.
How you doing?
Doing well. How are you? GG's on your run.
Uh, um, it was interesting.
So I'll ask the obvious question. It's going to be very character dependent for these. The first question or two I have for you.
Yeah,
First of all, do you just hate fifth characters?
depending on what fifth character it is, yes.
Fair enough. Was there anyone in particular you were holding out for?
I wouldn't have mind a cane. I mean, you always want the guy, but you don't always get the guy.
Absolutely. One of the things that we kind of posited here in the booth was what was the thought, if any, to leaning into a potential Bahamut Rydia, having seen Bahamut in the shop and knowing there was a Rydia in Watery Pass.
I knew
Did
there was, and I thought about it. But honestly, you know me, I tend to stick to my melee characters.
Yeah, definitely do know that. One of the things we kind of mentioned was also your uh, your want to put off the free key item, which you did until the Twin Harp was available. When you saw the magma key there, were there any particular thoughts you had, either positive or negative?
I was like, oh, yeah, that's not good. Yeah, I was
Well,
thinking, huh?
before I ask any more questions, Yoshi, do you have any questions for Ninja on his run today?
I mean, firstly, GG's. That felt unfortunate to say the least in terms of the characters.
Yeah,
I think
lack
the
of
big
characters
one.
help.
Yeah, I think the big one on our end, on my end at least, was there ever a point, because you got the hook fairly early, was there a point where you considered going there for the characters, or to see the character there, and if it was like a consideration, why did you not go earlier? What was the thing that kind of pushed you away from it?
What was it, Hook? Because I did Hook. I saw the
Yeah,
character, and I walked away from it. I think it was
It was
one of the
Poram.
twins. Yeah,
it was the other healer. I was like, no, I already got a healer with Rosa, and I hate to say it, Rosa is usually a better healer overall, and also comes to stat growth. You know, generally Rosa's the better character when it comes to healing. I know Possum knows that as well. But no, I didn't even think about checking the bosses down there. Uh does anybody actually know where said bosses were?
Yep. Gauntlet was in the plague spot, and Waterhag
Ugh.
was right next door at the Ribbon Room.
Ew.
And looks like Mom Bomb was at the King Queen Eblin spot, according to
Oh,
folks who
so
checked.
it was Hook Route.
Hmm.
Ah, okay. But Gauntlet at Plague? It's not the worst Gauntlet I've seen, but it's not a very fun one.
Well, it's not Alt Gauntlet; it's regular Gauntlet. So
Oh, it's Alt Gauntlet. Okay, never mind. If it's regular Gauntlet, you know, or I meant, yeah, trust me, I know, I have bad memories of gauntlets at really bad areas, aka Ogopogo. You should know that, Possum.
I had the pleasure of being able to watch multiple of your races in Z5, where you had Masamune Alter Gauntlet. So yes, I
Yeah.
definitely remember that.
But I want to thank I still want to say thanks for Akemi for running this club and doing the race stream. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Nakuri? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep, Nakuri.
That was correct.
Nakuri.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, Nakuri for pressing the buttons and not eating them like that possum does. And you, Possum, and Yoshi, for doing comms.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Ninja, for
Yeah.
putting on a great show for us. And you have a great rest of your day. GG's again to you. And any final thoughts before we let you go enjoy the rest of said day?
No, I think I'm just going to go get me some food and I'm down.
Yeah, well, enjoy, and GG's one last time.
Yep, you have a good day.
All right. Well, that was our second place runner on Restream Ninja. Fourth place overall. That is going to do it for us here on the Free Enterprise channel, though. But alas, there is more Free Enterprise to come. Thank you to our runners, Jaber TR, and Ninja81. Great job putting on a wonderful show for us. Thank you to Curry behind the scenes, keeping us honest on what key items are where, and especially what bosses are where, given Enemy Unknown was on. Thank you, Alchemy, for doing a wonderful job behind the scenes on Restream and with the Baron Hero's Journey. And of course, thank you, Yoshi, for doing a phenomenal job on your first Free Enterprise commentary. And to let everybody know, we do have a tournament that is coming up. So if you want to be a runner of said tournament, you certainly can be. It's open to anybody, new and old. Come on down, hang out in the Discord. You can sign up. We have a team format this time around. So if you think, oh, well, I'm just a casual, I just kind of watch and, maybe know a little bit about it. Perfect. We've got a spot on a team for you, I promise. Come on, join. Yoshi, any thoughts on your first commentary in Free Enterprise?
This has been a blast. I'm sure you'll see more of me soon, for better or worse. And maybe also see me a bit in the tournament on the other side of things.
Ooh.
But yeah,
That
thank
sounds
you a
like
lot
fun.
as well for this. This has been a ton of fun, and yeah, I'm absolutely certain I will be doing more of this soon.
Excellent. Well, we'd love to hear that. Glad to have you as part of the Restream team and part of the community. But I think we got to get out of here and clear the air, make room for the Free Enterprise masses to go hang out in a different location. And that location today is going to be Angie Dave. We're going to go say hi to Dave, another wonderful member of the community and Restream team. Does a lot of commentary himself. He is running a potion party async, specifically async 2LD 3FC. If you plan on running that, you probably want to drop off the raid immediately once it happens. But again, thank you everyone so much behind the scenes. No spoilers on today's race or you will get bopped. And y'all have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Goodbye, friends.